Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Americas League this time. This is the final partnership VCT region league that I'm going to be talking about. I've already done EMEA and Pacific. I'll leave a link to those down. Actually, I'll put a card up here so you can watch the other two for yourself and see who won and who's in the playoffs and stuff. But now we're going to be talking about the Americas League. And let's just have a look first at the participants. If you forgot, here are the teams. Obviously, we have 100 Thieves, Cloud9, Evil Geniuses, Fury Esports, Crew, Leviathan, Loud, MIBR, NRG, and Sentinels. There's been quite a lot of roster changes in this in this Americas League. The first one is actually, well, it was 100 Thieves. Well, not really the first one, but because they're like the first team that obviously from alphabetical order. We'll first talk about 100 Thieves. They only added Thwyfo as a sub, so that didn't really matter. Cloud9, however, they made some drastic changes. They basically got rid of Ye and Vanity. Obviously, Ye and Vanity, they're both of them are now in the NA VCL League. Ye with Disguised and Vanity with Shopify Rebellion. And they've added Jake and Rooney. Rooney, he's now the new IGL. And I'm pretty sure Jake is quote unquote replacing Ye, even though I'm pretty sure he's just a controller player. They still have sub as QPS, so that doesn't really matter. But surprisingly, Cloud9 was probably maybe the most surprising team in this league for a good reason. Evil Geniuses, nothing really other than they actually benched BCJ and they added Demon 1 into the lineup. And I'm pretty sure they also promoted Ziggsy, I'm pretty sure, as a head coach or something. I'm not too sure. Furia, nothing. Crew, Kesnet, he's now back with Crew Esports, but that didn't really matter. Leviathan was the lead. Crew was that. Kesnet, he was that. Went to Crew. Loud, nothing. MIBR, nothing. NRG, they only just added Ethos into the roster as a sub. And Sentinels was maybe the most amount of changes. They first got rid of Slacker NT, and Kaplan was promoted to head coach, while Drew Sparky was promoted to assistant coach after being an analyst for the team. They also got rid of Def as well, so Def, he left the team as the IGL, and I'm pretty sure Marv, who joined the team as a sub originally, he's now the new IGL for the team. Tens, he was benched, I'm pretty sure because he was unwell. And so they had this weird roster with Zekin, Sassy, Pancata, Mard, and Def into the lineup. It was very weird. Basically, it was just crazy for if you are a Sentinels fan. A lot of ups and downs for Sentinels. But let's now have a look at the standings, and it was Loud, obviously having the top seed, not really surprised there. But second place was Cloud9, a bit of a surprise there. I was not expecting Cloud9 to be in second place. I was expecting them to possibly maybe be in midfield, basically where like Furia and EG are. And EG also surprised me quite a lot as well. But pretty surprised that C9 actually was really competitive with this new roster of Jake and Rooney in the lineup. And they definitely looked a lot more clean, a lot more better when Vanity was in. They got NRG, Leviathan, Fury Esports, and Evil Geniuses ran out the top 6. So EG, even though they only had one fan basically, of all their 10 fans, they still made it to the playoffs, which is really surprising. Then in 7th place, Sentinels, 100 Thieves, MIBR, and in dead last place, getting the wooden spoon, Crew Esports, who didn't even win a single match. Yikes. Let's now move over to the regular season standings. Just like the Pacific and the EMEA leagues, I'll be basically going one by one with some matches, just so we could talk about it. So first up with Sen versus 100 Thieves. Obviously, this was the first match of the Americas League and was really hyped up. Sentinels taking down 100 Thieves 2-1. It was a very, very close game. Nail-biter to the very end on Ascent. And it was 14-12 over in Ascent. 14-12 was all on Split for the side of 100 Thieves. And 13-11 on Fracture for the side of Sentinels. And Tens gained MVP for that match. And then week 2, we now move over to Furia versus Leviathan. This was kind of just because Furia actually surprised me a bit. They just looked really, really good. They looked 10 times better from locked in. And Cali, or Kalai, I don't know how you say his name, I'll be honest, but he got MVP. Pretty close game as well. 13-11 went to Leviathan on Pearl, and 13-5 on Icebox went to Furia, including Ascent 13-10. Speaking of Icebox as well, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it was the Americas League that basically signed in with Heineken as the official sponsor of Icebox, and pretty ironic that I'm pretty sure at week 6, Icebox was out, Bind was in, so that was a bit of a yikesy there. But anyway, Furia, they were also looking really good throughout this whole season, which once again surprised me quite a lot. But to be fair, they were maybe the best Brazilian team other than the Loud. So the second best Brazilian team in the league, because MIBR, they just fell off massively. Speaking of MIBR, they somehow won against NRG. Now, we all thought NRG was going to be really competitive. They're going to be competitive against Loud, which obviously they were. But they weren't competitive against MIBR, which everyone knows they are the worst Brazilian team compared to Furia and Loud. But either way, it was a very, very close game. 13-10 on Icebox went to MIBR, 16-14 on Pearl went to NRG, and once again, 16-14 on Split went to MIBR. So, very, very close. But, NRG just couldn't finish it off, sadly. Week 4 on Super Week, we're first with Leviathan versus 100. Actually, just a mere one, I guess we'll talk about here. Just a small one. Sentinels and Loud, this was basically, I'm pretty sure this was the first match when Marv was in, because Ten had an injury, and also because he was sick. Pretty close game there, but either way, Loud still took them down. The first one I kind of want to talk about is Leviathan versus 100 Thieves. I'm pretty sure there was a bit of controversy around this game because the fans were basically telling 100 Thieves where Leviathan was, so they were kind of just cheating. But luckily, the players couldn't hear the crowd, so at least that's a good sign. But please, if you do that, you don't deserve to be in esports. You don't deserve to even be part of the esports community. If you do that, you should just find a different hobby, because that is appalling, especially for the crowd. That it was also kind of weird as well, because it kind of felt like the North American fans weren't too kind to the South American fans, while the South American fans weren't too kind to the North American fans. So I guess both fan bases are pretty bad. But either way, 100 Thieves still won. Very, very close game. Icebox went to Leviathan, and then Haven and Lotus went to 100 Thieves, and Bang get MVP. And EG versus Loud. We all thought EG was going to have obviously a massive upset. Like 13-3 on Split went to EG. We all thought, okay, this is massive. What's happening? This is gone, like, flipped onto its head. Haven went to 13-10. Still very competitive, but EG was still in it. And then Pearl came in. And Pearl, this was just tragic. It was 13-0. The first team, I'm pretty sure, in the entire league to have a 13-0. We all had our hopes up, and this was also the first match when Demon 1 was in for BCJ. Les get an MVP, and it was tragic. It was very, very tragic to see. But hopefully EG does well in the playoffs and possibly pulls off a bit of an upset. Week 5, and we still talk about Evil Geniuses. This was when they won against Leviathan, and Demon 1 get an MVP. I'll be honest, Demon 1, he is excuse for the pun, but he is a demon. He is extremely good on that jet. He ripped apart Leviathan. He ripped apart Takalila as well. He did a phenomenal job. So I think you should be really happy with this result. I think obviously the whole team should be happy with this result, because we all thought Leviathan was going to easily win against Evil Geniuses, and EG they were looking really good in this season. So EG really good. Team 1 again MVP. Once again, a great job. And then we move over to EG once again. We're still with EG as they basically obliterated Sentinels. 2-0 victory for them, and Jogimo gained MVP. You can see that I'm talking about EG quite a lot because they were just big surprises. Like, there was also Cloud9 as well. But EG basically out of nowhere, we all thought that EG was maybe going to be the worst team. We all thought maybe. I had some hopes of Cloud9. I thought Cloud9 was probably, just like I said, going to be midfield. I thought EG was going to be worse than Crew. I thought it was going to be Crew versus EG for that last spot in 10th place. But no, EG, they came out competitive. They were swinging, and for some reason, Demon 1 was on was on Brimstone, on Fracture for some reason. And I'm not too sure who's the Rays. I think it might be Joel Yemo, but I might be wrong on that. But either way, great result for EG, and Sentinels, they still struggled massively. Let's now move over to week 7, and we don't get to talk about EG anymore, but we do get to talk about Sen versus Crew. This is too close, I think, for Sentinels. 14-12 on Lotus, 13-10 on Bind. Zekken getting MVP. To be fair, Zekken, he played out of his mind in this match, but it was still too close. It was way, way too close for Sentinels. Too close for their comfort. It was a bit of a worry for Sentinels fans, especially on Reddit. I hate Sentinels fans on Reddit, especially. And then the first time Loud actually lost a match was against NRG, who is the leader from Optic Squad, and Victor getting MVP. This was a region of basically a revised NRG. They look 10 times better than they looked previously. Obviously, yes, this was up against their rivals of Loud. To be fair, Aspas, he did not do well. He was kind of underperforming massively, and I was compared as Tuzzy though, or Tuzi. Well, he was a bit of a nutcase. But either way, I mean, NRG, they picked a Loud apart. Finesse, he did a great job as IGLing, and he was just 10 times better than against Loud. So at least the rivalry is still there, and hopefully we get to see that rivalry more into this year. And finally, to round off the week, or I should say the regular season on week 8, Sentinels versus Furia. This was basically a must-win situation for Sentinels, and I'm pretty sure this was also when Tens was back in for the lineup. Might be wrong about that. But either way, Tens got MVP. 1917 on Bind. That was way too close. But, I mean, we all thought Furia was going to win and knocked out Sentinels. Sentinels was knocked down, I'm pretty sure, because I think they needed... Who they needed? I'm pretty sure they needed EG to win against NRG, I think. Might be wrong. But they basically needed a 2-0 against Furia to keep their title hopes alive. But that didn't come in, obviously. They failed to qualify to the playoffs, but it was at least a good attempt. Obviously, they did left it pretty light into the season. But at least it looked pretty decent for the LCQ, which is I'm pretty sure is like September maybe. I'm not too sure when it is, but at least they look pretty good for LCQ. But this I expect maybe some roster changes maybe, but I'm not too sure. And to round off week 8 and the regular season, MIBR versus 100 Thieves. What? What? This knocked down 100 Thieves out of the playoffs and basically locked EG into the playoffs. I don't know what to say other than this. Is this maybe the biggest upset? Maybe. Not too sure. Maybe EG as a whole might be a bigger upset than this, or MIBR winning against 100 Thieves might be a bigger upset. But this was yeah, I don't know what to say about this other than 100 Thieves massively underperformed. Like, Pearl was really competitive, but Fracture and Lotus, not competitive at all. And it was RGL Meister again MVP. Also, shout out to Salzen as well. I'm pretty sure he replaced Heat on the final 2 matches when MIBR played, and he actually really played pretty decently. Yes, he just played KJ the whole time, but I think he still played pretty well. So I think Salzen, a great 6th player, and hopefully we do get to see Heat back very, very, very soon. So with the regular season out of the way, let's now move over to the playoffs. So here's the bracket for the playoffs. Obviously, we have Leviathan versus Furia Esports. Whoever wins will verse Loud in the upper bracket semifinals. And NRG versus Evil Geniuses. Whoever wins will verse Cloud9. So we have a bit of a South American side and the North American side. Very perfect. Hopefully South America can get the revenge on North America after that dismal week 7 result. Because obviously, if you don't know, actually, if we quickly go back here, all the South American teams lost against North America. So hopefully South America can get their revenge on North America very, very soon. But that's really about it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you guys on next time in the next one. Goodbye.